girls, today we are going to be talking about visual literacy. Visual literacy. The power of reading images. Who can tell me what they think literacy means? What does literacy mean? Raul?
Reading?
It means being able to read, being able to write. When we consider literacy with images, what do you think that means? Literacy where it pertains to images that you see.
I kind of think of the phrase, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Okay, think of the phrase, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Anybody else? Ava?
Like trying to understand the message the picture gives.
Trying to understand the message the picture gives. All right, very good, very good guesses. Our essential question for today, why is it important to be visually literate? I want you to think about that for a minute. Why is it important to be visually literate? Rhea?
I would say you can understand what the reading means too.
Okay, understand what the reading means too. The way that information is presented has changed over the years. And I think that you would agree we live in a society now where a lot of messages are sent to us visually through games that we play, advertisements that we see, emails that we receive that include images attached to them. In order to be visually literate, it's important because understanding images increases your comprehension. Visually literate people are able to question, decode, interpret, evaluate, and communicate thoughts and ideas about images more effectively than those who really don't take time to look at the images and really concentrate on what's actually going on in the image. Visually literate people can read and interpret the purpose and intended meaning of the picture and word images in more creative and appropriate ways. So this is our driving question, why we are finding out what it means to be visually literate today. All right, so here's your task. You will be viewing a photograph. Give me a thumbs up if you can do that. When you look at a photograph, what are your eyes usually drawn to? Riley?
Like the main part.
The main part, the focal point, and that's natural. It's natural that our eye is drawn to that focal point, but we're going to learn that when you look beyond that focal point, you can learn a lot more about the image. You're going to use your schema and clues that you notice in the picture to infer what the image depicts. What is schema? Tell me what schema is. Jacob?
I think it's like background knowledge that you know about anything.
Background knowledge that you have learned either from a teacher, from a parent, through life experiences, coupling that with your ability to find clues, and then coming up with an idea, an educated guess of what you think the image depicts. You're going to write your inference in the original statement section of your graphic organizer. So everybody look at your graphic organizer and find where it says original statement. When I show you a picture of the whole image, you're going to look at it and write down what you think that picture is about. All right? Next, after you do that, we will deconstruct the image and see what added information can be gleaned or can be found by using a more intentional, detailed approach to viewing that image. You'll write your noticings in the 4 boxes as we look at each quadrant of the picture separately. What is a quadrant?
It's like part.
It's part. And
you can divide a place, like you can divide one place, and like you can divide one town into different places, like quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4.
okay, think of the word quadrant. Who recognizes a part in that word? A part in that word. Kaylee?
Quad, it means 4.
Quad means 4. So quadrants mean we are dividing that picture into how many parts?
4.
4 parts. Okay? Let's go. Y'all ready?
Yes.
Questions before we go? Yes, Chloe.
And also in quadrant, I think of quadrilaterals like.
Okay.
Yeah, the shape of forest.
Yeah, okay, good. So attach that to quadrilaterals as well. All right, so I would like you to look at this picture, study the overall image. Give me a thumbs up if your eye was naturally drawn to a certain part of that photo. Rachel, come up here and kind of just point to the board where your eye was naturally drawn.
Like to the 2 men.
Okay.
Yeah.
To the 2 men in the center of the photograph. Now I want you to just kind of skim and scan the entire photograph. Look around the edges. Look at the background. Try to not focus on the foreground here, but look in the background. See if you can figure out what might be going on. Pay attention to the clothing, the landscape, and then write down what you think this picture might be. What story is this picture telling? Based on your schema, what you know, based on what you're seeing here, what do you believe this picture is about? What event is taking place here? This is a challenging one. I will tell you, but as we deconstruct it, I think you're going to find it's going to help your comprehension of what actually is taking place. I like that everybody is getting your thoughts, formulating your thoughts into a sentence. In about 20 more seconds, or I'm going to ask if someone would be willing to share your original statement. Some of you are finishing up your thoughts. Is there anyone who has completed your sentence, who is ready to share your original statement? What do you think is happening in this picture? Keisha, what do you say?
I think it's an agreement between two rich landowners.
An agreement between two rich landowners. Okay, all right. Can anyone see how Keisha might come to that conclusion based on what he sees here? What would make him think it's an agreement? An agreement.
Because they're shaking hands.
They're shaking hands, and we see handshakes sometimes as a type of agreement, a contractual agreement from one person to another. Andy, what do you notice?
This picture might show two opposite sides of a war or an argument maybe coming to an agreement. They might be ending a negotiation and compromising.
All right. So two people who have been at war with one another, coming to an agreement, compromising, negotiating, coming to terms with something that had been separating them before. All right. How about you, Rhea?
It's probably what I thought is like, it's a war and they're making a bet of who loses what and who gains what.
Okay. All right. I'm interested, those of you who think it's a war, what did you see in the picture that might have caused you to think it had to do with war? Bradley, what did you see?
There's an officer in the background.
In the background here?
Near the other side.
Would you come and point him out for me? Oh, okay. All right. And how did you know that was an officer?
Well, because it kind of looked like it. He was on his clothes. They were
Okay.
just kind of like
His clothes. All right. Let's take a couple more. Ava, what do you have to say?
I think that this picture is an agreement of some kind between two different and opposite sides coming together and closing an argument.
All right. Anyone have a different? Wincy?
I think it might be like an interview.
An interview. Okay. All right. We're going to go now, guys, into our next segment, and this is where we are going to break this picture into quadrants. This will be quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. All right? Let's look at quadrant 1. There's the real, just the basic picture, and then I have cropped it here to show a larger picture of quadrant 1. Focus now only on quadrant 1. What details do you see in quadrant 1? Remember, we're looking at background, foreground, landscape. As you are writing them down, I'm going to jot down your ideas here as you're writing them in your box. So just go ahead, tell me, Kaylee, what do you notice?
I see tents in the background, like it might be like the healing tents in the Civil War.
Okay, like healing tents from the Civil War. All right, what does somebody else notice in quadrant 1? Rhea?
Like two, maybe soldiers, or not soldiers, but like some like owners, like some, let's say, slave,
Oh, like
walking off.
possible former slave owners or something? All right. Anybody else see anything? Casey, what do you see?
I think those little things in the background, they might be like, well, those are, I think they're like slave huts.
Slave hut? Okay. What made you think they would be slave huts?
Because from everything everyone else said, it sounded like it had a Civil War-ish theme.
Okay, Civil War's theme. So you're basing that on what other people have said about it as well as your own observations. All right. What about this gentleman here? Anything you notice about his facial features? It's hard, I know, it's hard to see. This picture, that's the one thing about images. This image has some age on it. How can we know it's an aged image? It's not a current image, photograph.
Well, it's in black and white.
It's in black and white, and even though we can have current photographs in black and white, what's another way you can tell it's not a current photograph? Ava?
It doesn't have the best foundation, like it's kind of not.
Kind of a grainy look rather than crisp and clear? But not even just what the photograph looks like, but what about the people in the photograph? How can you tell possible age of a photograph based on the people in it?
They're wearing like old-fashioned clothing.
Okay, wearing old-fashioned clothing. Anything else that strikes you in quadrant 1? I'm curious over here. Anybody notice, what do you think that is there? Riley?
Well, it looks like a kid,
Okay.
and like he's like putting rocks where that rock bed was.
Okay. Is he kind of like an onlooker, not really sure what his purpose in the photograph is? Annie?
It seems like there's a wall dividing those two
Okay.
sides.
A wall divider. All right, let's move on. Anybody else before we move on to the next quadrant? Yes,
I
Aisha?
think the kid is like biking around, like telling some news or something.
Okay,
Like it just looks like he has a bike.
all right, okay. Like he's a newsboy, he's doing something having to do with telling what's going on or recording what's going on. All right. Let's move now to the second quadrant. Here it is in the image before it was cropped and enlarged. And now let's look at it in larger view. All right, what do you notice here in the background? What do we have here? Trees.
Houses.
What, the stage that these trees are in, can this tell you anything about the time of year this might have occurred? Or can it eliminate a time of year that it didn't occur? Yes, Riley?
It kind of looks like it's in like summer.
Okay.
Because there are leaves on the tree.
Okay, because the trees are full of leaves, so we think this might have happened in the summer. All right. Ava?
There's men and they're all wearing the same outfits.
Okay, so they're dressed alike. The men are all dressed alike. Anything else you see? Johannes?
Most of the men are very old, so they look like maybe they're retired, or maybe some people that are heroes from a war.
Okay, old, retired, possibly heroes, war heroes. What do we call those who have served in a war before?
Veterans.
Veterans, so maybe they're war veterans. All right, anything else before we move on? Annie?
They seem to be rich because they're in fancy clothes and the houses look very well structured.
Okay, and rich from the houses and the clothes. Those were your identifying factors for that inference? Yes?
It looks like one side of the war has come together to either make an agreement or a bet.
Okay, all right. Chloe?
Just in the background,
Uh-huh.
the fields, like on the like on the first quadrant,
Uh-huh.
it was just fields, and then the second quadrant, it had trees and like
Okay,
I saw like a statue.
okay, all right. Let's focus on the third quadrant. All right, that's the original picture. And now here is interesting here. Anybody notice any detail with the gentleman here? What do you notice, Annie?
He seems to be holding a cane.
Seems to be holding a cane, which again would help. What does that signify if he's using a cane? It could signify one of two things. Either he's needing a cane for stability because he is old, or he could possibly have been hurt, okay.
Maybe blind.
Old or wounded, all right. What else do you notice? I noticed something else about him, Riley.
He's wearing like a uniform that has like badges on it, so it could be like in the military.
Right here, that this possibly is some type of badges of honor or medals or something he won from participating in a war. All right, anyone else have anything to say about this quadrant? Mila, how about you? We haven't heard from you. Anything to say about this quadrant?
Well, we can still see there's like a wall dividing the
Okay.
two.
Still see the dividing wall. Raul?
I see one man is, I'm pretty sure that's a leather bag
Okay.
or a
Jacket.
It's a jacket. He's holding his coat over him. All right, Chloe?
Speaking of the wall, like usually in the wars, they have like a wall to divide like their sides, so maybe it took place in a war.
Okay, all right. How about, let's see, one more. Ava?
I see that the men who are walking, well, what I've noticed that when you show the full picture, the left side, all of them are wearing gray outfits, and on the right side, they're all wearing black outfits. And
Okay.
in this one, men who are walking, one of them's wearing a gray outfit, and one of them's wearing a black outfit.
Okay, all right. Let's move on to our last quadrant. There's the original picture. Here's the enlarged version. What do you notice here? Mila?
I think they're almost all of them have canes, so
Okay.
again, I think most of them
Again,
people
that-
are wounded.
Testifies to their age or having been wounded. Daniel, what do you notice?
Like from the last picture, I think the grass was longer than this one.
Okay. So possibly that this over here might have been a homeowner's yard that's well kept, and on the other side was more of a grassy field. Okay. Johannes?
like behind the man, I see some things that could be like the trunks of trees.
Okay, tree trunks back there.
Right there.
All right, and a lot of times when people have homes, they have decorative shrubbery or they have privacy shrubbery or something. So again, signifying this more likely as a home, and on the other side of the wall was something more of open land or a farm. Kaylee?
Their suits are black, and on the other side they were gray.
Okay,
So kind of like maybe it's like black versus gray or something.
okay.
Yeah.
So black or possibly dark blue suit, so the blue versus gray, which would signify what? Blue versus gray.
Civil
War.
All right. Riley, anything else you notice here?
Well, since they're well dressed and the grass looks more taken care of,
Uh-huh.
the other side the grass doesn't look as taken care of, and the outfits they're not as well done.
Okay.
So they could be like the slave owners, and then the other people could be like slaves.
Okay, all right. Let's look here again. What do you notice here?
More badges. Oh.
What does this seem to, okay, more badges or medals? All right, Bradley?
Maybe they're all like a government because they all, unless they have Baptists and they're all really the same.
Maybe part of the government. Okay, Ava, last comment.
I just wanted to say that when you enlarged the picture,
Uh-huh,
and it was a full picture, I saw a date at the bottom,
uh-huh.
and it said, it was like or I think it was in like January, 01 or something, and then it said 97, and I think that in like, that would, like that, the Confederacy and the Union, and they're joining together, and they're like making up from the Civil War that they had.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
those are like the, war
All right.
veterans.
Here is the picture again.
Yeah, 97, yeah. Or 10,
Okay, so do you think this is 1997?
yes.
No,
1897?
Yeah,
In
1897.
social studies, it said that the war started in 1861, I think.
Okay,
And so maybe
to look at the whole picture, break it down into quadrants, hopefully make some inferences. Now what I need you to do is look back at your original statement on your graphic organizer. After viewing this photograph with a more discriminating eye, would you change your inference? Write your revised sentence in the summary statement segment of your graphic organizer. If you changed your opinion about what you thought this was after more carefully examining the photograph in different quadrants, rewrite your original statement in a summary statement of what you now think this picture really is about.